Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Miriam Galván. Last year, I graduated in the bachelor's degree of English Studies at the University of Salamanca, and I'm currently studying the master's degree in English Literature and Linguistics at the University of Granada. First of all, I'm very sorry that I have not been able to attend the Gender, Literatures, and Culture Symposium, but I thought I might contribute to it this way. So now I will present my work on Sylvia Plath's novel The Bell Jar, in which I analyze it as a first person testimony of depression, through which the author offers a faithful representation of mental health issues and fights social stigmatization against patients, which demonstrates the powerful character of literature. Plath's novel is particularly relevant in the contemporary context, as recent decades have witnessed a shift in the perspective on mental illnesses. Literature has undoubtedly contributed to instigating this change in the minds of readers, as many authors have found writing to be a shelter to convey their emotions and personal experiences while dealing with a psychological disorder. Mental health narratives can counteract misconceptions, negative stereotypes, and social stigmatization. This is the case with Plath's novel. She was a pioneer in the literary portrayal of mental health, publishing the novel in 1963, in which she depicts her experiences through the character of Esther Greenwood. My first argument tackles the representation of mental health issues in the bell jar. Plath analyzes the whole journey of the protagonist, Esther, with depression, which is provoked in the first place by a series of events that take place in New York City, depicted as a corrupted place because of the suffocating social expectations. Esther starts feeling like a failure because she is a brilliant student, but she does not know what to do with her future after graduating. The problem is that the protagonist is in search of herself, but she cannot quite fit herself into the patterns that she sees as available, as stated by Coyle. The inability to achieve these standards causes the heroine to have an identity crisis and develop very low self esteem. But the breaking point in unleashing Esther's depression takes place when she goes back home. Her mother informs her that she has been rejected for an expected writing course at Harvard. And from then on, Esther will enter a spiral of resignation and apathy, becoming unable to make decisions about her life and to find any purpose. It is the metaphor of the bell jar, which gives name to the work, that is most impactful in representing how Esther feels during her depression. She pictures herself imprisoned under a glass bell jar that isolates her and does not allow her to move. She tries to escape this hellish space through suicide, at which she makes multiple attempts. Esther's experience with medical treatment begins with Dr. Gordon. She criticizes his lack of concern for her illness, which he believes to be imaginary or even a lie. As Peterson expresses, Gordon makes no effort to interpret her story and arrive at a diagnosis or explanation. When she arrives at his private hospital, she finds a discouraging environment, immobile patients with identical facial features, and this image reflects the reality of the time. Mentally sick people were confined and medicated in institutions. Once again, social stigma is very present even in places that are supposed to take care of mentally ill people, resulting rather in their health deterioration. The final stage of Dr. Gordon's treatment is Esther's first electroshock session, which marks a turning point. She describes it as a painful and traumatic experience, leading her to make several attempts at suicide. This has been interpreted as a critique of Plath towards the psychiatry of her time. Plath highlights its limitations, but also its strengths through the second specialist that treats Esther, Dr. Nolan. The protagonist is initially surprised to have a woman as a psychiatrist and by the conditions of the hospital compared to Dr. Gordon's. The fact that he's a man while Dr. Nolan is a woman does not go unnoticed. Indirectly, Plath is suggesting that women should take over their own healthcare. Plath also shows us this range of medical professionals to exemplify what is effective and what is not in treating mentally ill people. For this reason, her narrative can be extremely useful for instructing health professionals with empathy and communication. Esther likes Dr. Nolan because she cares for her and tries to understand her, providing her with a feeling of security and trust. They talk about her past experience with electroshock therapy, and Dr. Nolan reassures Esther before undergoing another session. She says, I'll be there the whole time, so everything will happen right the way I promised. After this, Esther feels perched and at peace, revealing how the bell jar has lifted from above her head, letting her breathe freely finally. When Esther is institutionalized, she meets other patients in conditions similar to hers, like John's. They already knew each other, and in fact, both women are similar. They have many things in common. Um, as stated by Kalmanova, sometimes it feels as if Esther is John and vice versa. Their lives are the same, just in two different realities. From the start, Esther has a tempestuous relationship with John that becomes even more complicated when they are both in the hospital, and Esther begins an imaginary race in her head on who will recover first. Finally, Joan commits suicide, and her death functions for Esther as a warning to get better if she does not want to meet a similar end. My second argument explores the destigmatization of mental illness through the evolution of Esther's character and the critique of social stigma around her. The first signs are manifested by Esther's mother, who treats her as if she's to blame for being depressed, a condition that she greatly misunderstands. She perceives her sickness as something that can be dismissed and reckons that Esther does not get better because she doesn't want to. Lightheart synthesizes this idea. Esther is frequently misunderstood by her family, friends, and society as they don't comprehend why she would be depressed or want to commit suicide. Her life seems to be in order from an outsider's perspective. Esther's arrival at two different hospitals entails a surprise and a reconsideration of her ideas about mental patients, too. She is astonished because she does not find visibly insane people. Buddy Willard, her former boyfriend, also makes some unfortunate comments after finding out that Esther has been institutionalized. He displays his concern for Esther's lack of possibilities of getting married, since no one will want to marry a former asylum inmate. Bearing in mind that every woman was expected to marry at the time, Esther is left with another feeling of social and personal failure. This reformulation of mental health notions guides the protagonist to find some hope of recovery, which previously seemed impossible, and is transmitted to the readers. The central motive that leads Esther towards recovery is freedom. She achieves it completely only after taking control of her body and sexuality. This freedom is partly ensured by getting a diaphragm with the help of Dr. Nolan, preventing her from getting pregnant and then losing her virginity. The novel has an ambiguous and open ending that does not reveal if the main character has recovered completely, but that definitely insinuates an improvement of her mental state. Even so, Esther is scared about relapsing. She says, "How did I know that someday the bell jar wouldn't descend again?" This uncertainty is common for many disabled people. Finally, the argumentation closes with the power of literature to aid patients with healing and to educate society about humane values. Within the novel, Plath illustrates her decision to write a book on her real life depressive episode. Esther is a character created by Plath as a literary double, and the same process is performed by Esther. She's passionate about writing, like Plath, and decides to spend the summer writing a novel, which refers to the bell jar itself. The power of the book relies in that it employs storytelling to find a place to suffer, to regain agency, to give voice to those who have been silenced, and to advocate for survival and resistance amid a despairing atmosphere. Plath exercises writing for therapeutic purposes, healing her mental disorder. So, as Waham says, her creative output is a way of coping with her inner turmoil. This experience, again, is shared with other people going through a similar ordeal, and it allows them to make sense of their emotions, to relate to characters, to receive support and encouragement, and ultimately to attain growth. To sum up, my presentation has accentuated how Sylvia Plath became one of the first people to write about mental health issues by using her novel The Bell Jar as a narrative for healing from her own depressive sickness. This major contribution is crucial for challenging social stigmatization of mentally ill people who can find strength and a safe place to heal in reading literary works like Plath's. Even though she ultimately lost the battle against depression, she committed suicide a month after publishing the novel. Her legacy has been continued by subsequent writers, demonstrating the importance of literature in raising awareness about mental disorders. Although the situation has improved, a significant prejudice remains. Thus, this kind of narrative is still very much needed.